Thank you all for logging on and joining us today. This is one of 3 webinars that we are going to be hosting. This one we're going to focus on the first year experience, and next week we will have a second webinar focusing more on experiential learning, and the week following that is a webinar focused more on the parent-guardian information. We'll have a couple of staff members attending that one as well who will be able to answer some more questions. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get everybody introduced. Just so everybody knows, we are recording this with hopes that we'll be able to post it to the website. We don't have that confirmed yet, but there's a possibility you'll be able to reference this later on after the fact, just if you want to revisit. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce everybody. My name is Grace. I am the lead student ambassador for the College of Engineering. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am a third-year engineering student in mechanical and manufacturing engineering. A couple of things I'm involved in on campus. I'm involved in the Engineering Leadership Academy, Society of Women and Engineers, American Society of Civil Engineers, Concrete Canoe, Society of Automotive Engineers, Global Formula One, and the Ambassador Program. And so now I'm going to pass it off to Sadie.
Hi everyone, my name's Sadie and I'm a senior in chemical engineering. One thing that I've been involved in here on campus is research, and I was doing research in a material science lab, and I'm going to go on and pass it off to Riley.
Hi, I'm Riley. I'm a third year in chemical engineering. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm involved with the Society of Women Engineers and undergraduate research, and I'm also in the Honors College. I'm going to pass it off to Caitlin.
Hi everybody, I'm Caitlin. I'm a third year double majoring in ecological engineering and environmental engineering. Some of the things I'm involved in on campus are Phi Sigma Rho, which is the engineering sorority, and the Ecological Engineering Student Society. And I'm going to pass it off to Esther.
Hi guys, my name is Esther Vega. I am currently a third year student. I am studying industrial engineering. My pronouns are she, her, hers. Outside of being an ambassador here in the College of Engineering, I'm also the lead ambassador for the Honors College. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out with that. I am also involved in research and other clubs as well. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to talk to us about it.
Awesome, thank you everybody. So I'm going to get going here with the presentation. Alrighty. So welcome, as I said before. During this session, we are going to have the option for Q&A, both at the beginning and throughout the presentation. At the bottom of your screen, there should be a button that says Q&A with 2 quotation bubbles. If you click on that, you can type in your question, and Riley and Caitlin will be ready to answer your questions as they come in. We will also be able to answer questions at the end, like I mentioned. So if you do have one that comes up, we can also do that as well. So let's get started. So as you met all of us, we are all part of the Engineering Ambassador Program. What that means for us is that we are kind of the student face for the College of Engineering as far as student success, outreach, recruitment, and alumni relations are concerned. So an example of what we might do for student success is we'll be assisting with START sessions, which you'll be attending as a first-year student, and we'll talk about here in a little bit. For outreach, we do a lot of K-12 tours out at the OH Hinsdale Wave Lab. It's on campus out on 35th. For recruitment, we do daily College of Engineering tours during the week, and those go typically throughout the school year. Not at the moment, but here we are presenting to you instead. We also go out and do high school visits and help with career and college fairs. And then for alumni relations, we do help with career fairs here on campus. We also go to different events with the dean's office to work on programs and conferences and things of that nature. So our agenda for today, we're going to go a little bit over the START program, what the START orientation is going to look like for you. The Living Learning Communities, which is our engineering residence halls. Office of Student Services. We have a bunch of services for the College of Engineering, including first year advising, tutoring, Career Development Center, Center for Diversity and Inclusion, as well as the Leadership Academy. We're also going to go over your first year coursework, what that might look like as far as fundamentals, our general engineering option, and co-curricular resources. We're also going to go over student organizations and clubs, including our club fair and some examples of a couple of our over 50 engineering clubs we have here on campus. And as I aforementioned, we are also going to have a Q&A session at the end. So previously mentioned, if you didn't catch it, you can ask questions throughout the presentation by clicking the Q&A button at the bottom, or you can hold your questions till the end when our questions will be submitted in a similar fashion. So first, we're going to talk about START orientation. This is kind of your chance as a first-year student to come on campus, get situated, and get your first term of registration out of the way. So what that's going to look like for you is first day, you're going to have some orientation sessions. This is kind of you get in a group and kind of get situated on campus. We're going to go through some presentations. Housing and dining is going to come talk to you, and different colleges are going to have presentations as well. In the evening, we're going to have some activities for you, dinner, game shows, and family program rotations. And then there also is a rec night at Dixon Recreation Center, which they have some activities specifically for START night, which is kind of fun. And then for day 2, it's more logistics. So we have a resource fair, honors college meeting, veterans information, and then we also have student accounts, billing and financial aid presentations. And then you will get help with your registration from advisors. So you get a chance to kind of meet with an advisor and see what classes, if you took courses in high school or took dual credit courses, you'll kind of get to see where you can start in your registration process with an advisor. There are also optional presentations and drop-in sessions on the second day. And you also have an opportunity, if you choose to do so, to explore some of the resources that we offer in the College of Engineering, such as tutoring, Leadership Academy, Center for Diversity and Inclusion, Career Development Center, and so forth. So with that, I'm going to pass this on to Sadie, who's going to talk to you about living learning communities.
Okay, hi everyone. So a living learning community is going to be a space where you can live in a residence hall with other students of your same major. So it's a really great way to connect with engineering students within that first year and start to build a community of peers that you can rely on kind of for the next 4 years of college. Start forming study groups and just have people to sign up for classes with and kind of socialize in a setting outside of your classes. Another great thing about the engineering living learning communities is that they give you access to events, including faculty mixers, workshops, panels, and a bunch of other engineering related activities that can really help you understand what's going on in the college and just get you familiar with the College of Engineering in general. And another super cool thing about the engineering living learning community is that we have access to a free makerspace. So the makerspace is open 24/7 to any residents in the living learning community. And they have a bunch of different machinery in that space. So that includes 3D printers, laser cutters, CNC machines. They also have soldering equipment. So there's a lot of different things that are available for your use. And there's staff there that can help you train you in using those machines. And then you're allowed to go in there and work on any personal projects that you might have for other classes. So it's just a really great space to get some hands-on engineering experience. And so the engineering residence halls, those include Cawthorn, Hawley, and Buxton. And you don't have to be roommates with an engineer, but you can be matched with other engineers. And again, it's just a really great way to create a community of other engineering students within your residence hall experience. So in this section, I'm just going to go over some of the student services that we offer within the College of Engineering. So first off, we have advising specifically for first-year engineering students. So all engineering students are required to meet with their advisor every single term. And that's just a really great way to make sure that you're on track to graduate and that you're taking all the classes that you need to. But your first-year advisors can also help you with things beyond just classes. So they're a resource for you to help with things like study abroad, with helping to find other opportunities on campus, whether that's like jobs or internships or just getting exposure to different clubs and professors and things. So they're really just a great resource to help you get acclimated to college life. And so when you're meeting with your advisor once a term, they're going to kind of go through the classes that you want to take that next term and then help you with whatever else you have questions about. And then at the end of that meeting, they'll give you a PIN, and you need that PIN to register for classes the next term. So that's why it is really important to meet with your advisors every single term to make sure that you can register for classes. So some other services that we offer, we do have tutoring, and that's pretty much every single day of the week for engineering students. And our tutoring, that includes with classes, all your introductory engineering classes, we pretty much have tutors for. And then a lot of the physics, math, and chemistry classes that engineers have to take, we also have tutors for. So that's just a really great service to get some extra help in your classes. There's also some tutoring services outside of the College of Engineering. So we have like the mole hole in the library and the bull hole, and those help with chemistry and physics. And then you can always reach out to your TAs and professors and go to their office hours to get help. So there's a lot of resources within the College of Engineering to help you out in your classes. We also have a career development center specifically for engineering students. So that's a great way to work on that resume and your cover letters and just find other internships and job opportunities within your industry. So they're going to be a great resource to help tailor that resume towards whatever job or internship or whatever that you're really interested in. So it's a really great resource just for engineering students, and that's in addition to the campus-wide career development center that we have. We also have the Leadership Academy for engineering students. So that's a really great way to kind of hone in on those soft skills that maybe you don't get as much familiarity with in your classroom setting. So that's things, a lot of like communication skills like networking and leadership. And so that Leadership Academy, they hold events almost every single week. And there are a lot of workshops that are hosted by industry professionals. And they're gonna be there just to help you with those leadership events. So one of my favorite ones that I went to was a workshop held by a NASA engineer, and she walked us through some of the problem solving strategies at NASA, and it was super informative and just like a really eye-opening experience to kind of learn how things worked at NASA and interact with her and kind of work in small groups on that problem solving mindset. And then they also, another cool event that I went to was a suit camp where you do mock interviews with industry professionals. So it's kind of a very realistic interview experience, but they're all volunteers and they're just there to provide you great feedback on your interview skills. So I learned a lot from that experience. But there's a whole lot of different workshops that the Leadership Academy puts on. And then another really great service is the Center for Diversity and Inclusion, and that's a space that aims to support women in engineering, students of color, LGBTQ+ students, undocumented students, first-generation students, and so many more. And it's a really great space. They hold events that are specifically aimed towards those students, and they just really create an environment where everyone feels supported and welcomed within the College of Engineering. Some of my favorite events that the Center for Diversity and Inclusion puts on is just kind of their finals and midterms de-stressing events. So they'll do some more like creative activities just to kind of get your mind off studying in finals. And it's just a great way to meet other individuals like you and to feel supported within the College of Engineering. With that, I'll pass it off to Esther.
Thanks, Sadie. So while I begin sharing my screen, I do want to let those know that came in a little later that there is an option if you guys have any questions. There's an option at the bottom where you put your question on the Q&A box, or afterwards we will have time for questions. So I just want to share that quickly because I know some more people came. So now I'm going to cover first year courses with you guys. So what are they, and kind of covering everything in between. So first year courses will kind of get you in depth into the math and physics you will need in your upper division courses. So these courses are typically general, and a lot of engineering majors end up taking the whole series of it all. There are like some like 100 level courses that students in high school get to take. So if you are looking to go into engineering, taking some of those courses is definitely super helpful in high school. So there's three main themes that come in kind of with the whole redesign of our engineering education program. So the three themes are engineering grand challenges, design, engineering, and problem solving, and engineering, computation, and algorithmic thinking. So from my personal experience, something that is really helpful that, you know, with the courses that I have been in is the hands-on experience that these three themes bring. So being able to think about all these things in laboratories during class, especially if you're someone that's more like visual learning, something that I have really gained through these courses or first year courses is that exactly. So general engineering helps a student that is kind of indecisive of figuring out what major they want to go into. I was definitely in that place that's so long ago. So general engineering gives you the opportunity to explore 16 different engineering degrees. You declare your major at the end of your first year. If you already know your major, you can definitely declare it at start. So start sessions are when you start registering for classes. Something that is quintessential to this general engineering program is that you do take like a first year course that kind of covers every single major, like mentioned before, and it really gives you like a breadth of knowledge of what each major kind of covers and it entails. Something else that is worth mentioning is that Oregon State University, or at least within the College of Engineering, is in the progression model. So what this means is that you don't have to like reapply to the major that you want. If you already know the major you want to go into, you already can go into civil engineering or computer science and things like that. You are not held by kind of like having to reapply to a different major, which is really nice. Having said that, this program or this progression model, you do have to maintain a 2.5 GPA based on 2/3 of your courses, which are engineering courses. This includes math, or the math and physics and chemistry you already have to take as an engineering student. And you work closely with your first year advisors to make sure that you are keeping that GPA in that course or credit load. And above all else, there's also other resources to help you as well. So other resources that are available to first year students are first year mentorship. So connecting with upper division engineering students, which I am a strong proponent of, you know, being able to ask someone that has already been in your shoes, that has gone through this program already, being able to ask them for help, for questions, anything in between, that is super, super helpful to help you in your engineering education. And then Engineering Fridays, so exploring different areas through engineering, through events and activities. So it's maybe like a hackathon or maybe some activity that you get to meet other engineering students. So something to, you know, take a break from classes and tests and things like that. It's more so just to get you learning about other things, other fun things through like socializing and other events. And so now I will talk about student organizations and clubs. So there is a club fair that, as Grace mentioned, as a first year student, when you are getting like ready for classes, there's a few days that you are kind of going through start sessions or going through other events and things like that. One of the events that the College of Engineering offers is the Cookies and Clubs Fair. So this is a fair where all engineering clubs get to come and get to table, and you get to learn more about the clubs that you might want to be involved in. I love the whole program. It's a really fun atmosphere. It's a kind of like very low stress. You can talk to students, current engineering students. You get to meet other peers of yours. It's a really fun. There's also free cookies, as mentioned here in the slide. So some examples, and again, there's a lot of clubs engineering. These are just to name a few. We have the Robotics Club, we have Engineers Without Borders, Society of Automotive Engineers, the ChemiCar, American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, in affinity organizations, so the National Society of Black Engineers, out in STEM, the Society for the Advancement of Chicano and Native Americans in the Sciences, the Society for Hispanic Professional Engineers, Society of Women Engineers, and ACMW. So these are just to name a few. And again, these are amazing programs or amazing clubs that I strongly recommend students to get involved with if you do want to get, you know, the whole first year experience. And with that, I will pass it back to Grace.
So as I mentioned before, we are going to try and get this posted. Here's a list of online resources that we have, links to different places on our Oregon State website where you can find information about what we talked about today. hopefully we are able to post this and these links will become available to you, but if not, if you go to the College of Engineering website on Oregon State's website, you can search these and find these websites as well. So that's kind of our big presentation we have for you guys. Now is the time for questions. If you have questions you're not comfortable asking at this session, we do have an email. I'll leave this up for a few seconds so you can jot that down. That email goes directly to myself, and I can direct you towards somebody who can answer your question if it's a little bit more in depth, and get you kind of some answers in that way as well. So that's coe.ambassadors@oregonstate.edu. And I will leave this up for a couple minutes before I switch to just a general question slide. But now's the time for questions. Alrighty, we did introduce two ambassadors at the beginning who did not give presentations. That was Riley and Caitlin, and they are going to be answering some of your questions. So first I'm going to have Riley take over and start answering some of those.
Hi again. So one of the questions that we're getting a lot is, would we recommend the engineering dorms or the honors college dorms? And I don't know if we can make a recommendation because it's a pretty personal decision, but I lived in the engineering dorms, so I can speak to that. And then Sadie, I believe, lived in the honors college dorms, so maybe she can weigh in a little bit on that. I can give my take on the engineering dorms really quickly though. I really enjoyed living in the dorms. I met everyone that I would be taking classes with for the next 4 years of college, which was pretty convenient. It was a really good way to make friends with people that I was going to be taking classes with a lot and kind of build a network. And it was also pretty helpful because first-year engineering students take a lot of the same classes. And so anytime that I was stuck on a homework problem or really confused by something, I could step into the lounge and there was probably at least one other person working on the same thing that I was struggling with. So it made it really easy to get help with things that I was having difficulty with.
So yeah, I lived in the honors college dorm, and I think it's similar in the engineering communities in that you're still creating kind of that smaller community within our big school environment. And I really enjoyed it. I think one benefit to the honors college one that I was thinking when I chose to live there was just to meet people outside of my major, because I am having classes with them. I thought it would be nice to meet students that aren't just in engineering. So that's kind of one reason I enjoyed the honors college dorm. But I did end up taking a lot of the same classes with my honors college peers. So I still kind of had that study group community and people that I could sign up for classes with and study with. So yeah, I think it's kind of a similar experience, but definitely up to preference. I think having access to that makerspace in the engineering living learning community would be kind of cool. But definitely it's just kind of your preference there.
So another common question that's been asked is just having access to the makerspace. And for that, only students who live in the engineering living learning community have access to it.
Yeah, so another question that was asked in a couple of different ways was just asking generally about how AP classes and AP credits transfer to Oregon State. So for that, it's all very specific to the score that you get on the AP test and what class it is and how it transfers here. And there's a lot better information on that on our website. And if you're having trouble finding that, definitely email askengineering@orgonstate.edu and someone will get back to you. Do you want to give the next question, Caitlin?
Can we discuss what makes the College of Engineering degree exceptional? What is community like? What types of careers are there in the future? Grace, do you want to start us off with this one?
Yeah, so our College of Engineering is really fun. It's really inclusive, but it's also one of the top programs in the United States. Our College of Engineering at Oregon State makes up a third of the student population. About 7,500 of those students are undergraduate students, so you're amongst peers always. And I don't want to kind of talk all about it, so Sadie, do you want to add some more on there?
One thing that I found specific to Oregon State that I really love about the engineering program here is that it never feels competitive. So I know like within my classes, everyone's kind of working on like we all go to Johnson Hall and work on homework, and you can go up to anyone at any point and just ask for help. Like people are just so helpful and kind, and like I just feel like the community that's created within your major is pretty strong, and it feels like, oh, like I want to do better than you or whatever. Like everyone's just super supportive, and I think that is pretty unique to Oregon State and really makes my experience here a lot better.
I always say the same thing that Sadie said. I agree a lot. Like I feel like everyone in my classes wants like everyone to do well, and we're all really willing to help each other out and lend a hand anytime someone's struggling, which is something I really appreciate about Oregon State. And then we have another question. It was asking if typically would you be taking 4 courses a quarter, and if you had a minor, does that bring the course load up to 5 courses a quarter? Esther, do you feel comfortable talking about fluctuations in course load?
So it is totally dependent on how you want to go about things. Something I really recommend first-year students is to take the only needed courses you need to take within your first term. The reason I recommend this is because when you first term, you're getting used to campus life, you're getting used to being away from home, you're getting used to joining all these clubs and everything else, that I strongly recommend just taking the needed first term courses that your advisor recommends. So typically, my courses have been 4 to 5. It totally depends on the student, depends on the workload, but that is something that I would not only recommend speaking to your advisor, because it's more of a case-to-case type of thing, but also it's talking to maybe one of your mentors that you connect with within your first year, or talking to other upper division students, seeing what they recommend. Personally, I've stayed consistent with taking, I think, about 5 courses each term, but that is only because I'm also part of the honors college, and so there's some added courses there as well. And also just because I came in as a second-year student, and so I had to kind of catch up course-wise. But having said that, I strongly recommend students to pick something that they're most comfortable with. That being said, we want you to not burn out from courses. We want you to keep it leveled off. And so the typical median that students take are 4 to 5 courses.
Thank you. And Caitlin, do you have the next question?
Yeah, so a couple of students have been asking where they can find information about seeing what classes they would take for a certain major. And just to answer that, it's going to be on our website. You basically can just search course load for mechanical engineering or environmental engineering, chemical engineering, and it will show up. And then it will give you like a projection of what classes you'll be taking for the full 4 years. Riley, do you want to take away the next question?
Yeah. So one common question that we're seeing is, what are some companies that recruit at OSU, or what are some companies that OSU students generally work at? I know this varies a lot. Does anyone have anything to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I can help answer that question. So yeah, it really does vary between what majors you're going to work on or what major you're getting. But we have so many different companies that recruit at Oregon State. So we have career fairs every single term just for engineering students. And I mean, there's career fairs for the entire Oregon State University, but there's one specifically for students in STEM. And that's a great way to see what kind of companies are going to be hiring in your industry. Even if you're just a first-year student and not looking for a job or an internship yet, it's great to go to these career fairs and just figure out what companies are there. And then we also have MECOP, which is a really great program for engineering students. And that we usually partner with around 60 different companies in the Northwest. And they offer like 6-month paid internships to students if you're interested in that program. And those companies range from like small to big. So it's like, could be like Intel, or it could be Micron, bigger companies like that. Or some small manufacturing or chemical engineering companies, whatever. So it's kind of hard to talk to specific companies because there are just so many that hire engineering students, but yeah. Does anyone else want to add in to that? I don't know.
Yeah, I have another thing to add. The College of Engineering Oregon State University uses a program called Hamshake. It's kind of like a job search website, like you might use like Indeed and things like that. But Handshake goes directly through the university, so the university can vet through all of the people who are posting jobs and make sure that they really are recruiting Oregon State students. That way, you're not kind of just applying to a bunch of jobs. You don't know if you're going to hear back. The people who post jobs on that site are actively recruiting Oregon State students, and that comes through the school. So that's another handy tool that we have as far as recruitment goes.
Caitlin, do you have another question?
What is your favorite part about the College of Engineering? I guess we kind of already answered this, but the College of Engineering for me, I just really like that it's inclusive, but yeah, that's what everybody else has been saying already. Let's see if we can find another one. I'm so sorry.
While you look for another question, I can ask, or I can also answer that. So aside from the people, because I honestly am so happy with the people I've met through the College of Engineering, is the help. So I never thought that I was smart enough for engineering. I always thought that it was going to be super difficult, but the amount of resources that the College of Engineering has to offer for that are just amazing. Like last term, I was in our free tutoring offices like all the time, and they were super helpful. That is something that the College of Engineering wants to help you with. The Leadership Academy, both my parents were not engineers. I did not know what to expect, but being able to be part of like organizations like the Leadership Academy, where I can get connected with engineers and ask them questions, has definitely been one of my most favorite things about the College of Engineering.
Thank you, Esther. Okay, so in the meantime, I found a question. What are the research opportunities for first-year students on campus? Sadie, since you do research, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of ways to get involved in research, even as a first-year student. So I would say just like don't be afraid, even if you're just starting off in college, to seek out some of these research experiences. So the best way to kind of get research is just to talk to professors. So in whatever area that you're interested in, I would just recommend kind of either talking to the professors that you have or looking up some professors online and seeing what their research is, and then just reaching out to them either by email or in person and kind of setting up a meeting with them just to talk about their research and show your interest. And I think I was like really nervous about doing that as a first-year student, but everyone needs help in their labs. Like you might not get paid for your work at first, but they're always looking for volunteers to help out with research. So if you show that you're really interested in their lab and that you want to help in some way, most professors are going to be very open to having you work in their lab. And when I got into my research position, I did at the end of my freshman year, and I was working in a chemistry lab, and so I didn't get paid doing that, but then I applied for a stipend through an organization within Oregon State, and so they could help pay for some of the time that I was spending in that lab. So there's a lot of other resources to help you get paid while you're doing your work, or you can just volunteer your time as well, which is just a great way to build up experience. But yeah, research opportunities are definitely available to first-year students. So I would say don't be discouraged ever to get involved.
Thanks, Sadie. And then another common question that we're getting is just general questions about minors. And so I know minors can sometimes cause a little bit of confusion, so maybe we can go over what they are first. I can talk about that a little bit. So your major is what you're focusing on in school, and it's like your main course of study, whereas a minor is something where you're taking classes in it, but you're not taking nearly as many classes as your major, and you take enough classes to where the college goes, okay, they are proficient in this subject. So I'm a chemical engineering student and I'm minoring in chemistry and material science. And so I'm not taking only material science classes or even the same amount of material science classes as I do for chemical engineering. I'm just taking maybe like 5 or 6. And there are guidelines for that on the website that you can look at for different minors. Is anyone else doing minors and wants to talk about how doable they are with their coursework?
I'm not doing a minor, but something I will like to add is that there are different minors you can get in within the College of Engineering. So within, for example, mechanical engineering can get a minor in material science or a minor in aerospace engineering. Within the whole College of Engineering, you can be from any engineering major and minor in humanitarian engineering. There's other minors you can go to outside of the College of Engineering, and for that, just keep in mind that you will have a different advisor for that different major if it's at a different college, or for example, maybe you want to minor in Spanish or things like that. So that's just something I wanted to add.
Sorry for interrupting you, Esther. I was just gonna add on that, like, While there are opportunities to also have minors, you could also double major. It's not necessarily recommended for the College of Engineering, especially with 2 engineering majors specifically, but the course loads end up working out pretty well in the similarities between the different concepts that they discuss. It's definitely doable, but it may add a couple of extra terms on to your whole experience.
Riley, one last thing before you move on. As Caitlin was saying too, it can get a little bit challenging to double major, but a lot of times the minors and the majors line up if they're within the same college. So for example, I'm taking manufacturing and mechanical engineering as a double major. However, because my classes are similar, because they're in the same college, it's easier for me than it would be if I was double majoring in computer science, since it's in a completely different college. It's in the College of Electrical, Computer Engineering, and Computer Science. So because they're in the same college, it's a lot easier. Same thing with a minor in aerospace. If I was to just do mechanical engineering with a minor in aerospace, it wouldn't actually add on that many classes because it takes up your technical courses you're required to take with your major anyways. So that's something to talk to your advisor about as well, especially if you're looking to do a double major or a minor within your specific college, because there is ways to do that where it's not tacking on a lot of extra coursework.
Thank you, Grace. All right, for the next question, a couple of students have been wondering why we specifically chose to come to OSU in comparison to other schools. Anybody in particular want to start off with this?
Start. I've gotten this question a lot lately, and I chose Oregon State University because I was very indecisive of what I wanted to major in. I've said this many times, but I think it's totally unfair to ask 18-year-olds what they want to do for 4 years and then do for the rest of their lives. And so Oregon State University provided that plethora of majors. There's a lot of majors you can choose from. I actually came in as a business major and then switched to engineering. And so that whole process, I would not have been able to do if I had gone to another school that had limited majors or less majors. And as why I chose, I guess, engineering, I don't know if it asked OSU, but engineering as well, is just the amount of opportunities that I have had through this program.
I guess I chose Oregon State because I grew up in Montana and I wanted to leave. And I wanted to also stay on the West Coast, closer to home. And Oregon State's engineering program is really attractive to me, as well as the community in Corvallis itself. When I came and visited, it reminded me a lot of home because it's not like a big city. I went and toured some colleges. I went and toured some colleges in Washington, some colleges in Portland, and they just seemed a little bit too city for me. So I really like the atmosphere at Oregon State. It feels very homey and like more of a community to me as opposed to a school put in the middle of a city. So that was something that I was attracted to by Oregon State, as well as the engineering program, because I really wanted to do engineering and their program is really attractive to me. So.
Okay, so then we have another question that is, are all engineers required to do a senior project, and what is that like? And I know, Sadie, you're a senior right now, and so you're probably going through this. Do you want to answer that?
So yeah, all engineering students are required to do a senior capstone project. And it really varies kind of within whichever major you're in. So some of them are going to be like year long, your full senior year, and then some might just be a term, but it's like usually a class that will help structure that capstone project and help you kind of go through the timeline of figuring out when to get different deadlines done and stuff. And so for some majors, you have a lot more freedom. You kind of get to pick what to build or what that project's going to be. And then others, it's a little more structured. So for example, within chemical engineering, we're just kind of offered a list of projects to work on, and they're all things suggested by a company. And so we're working directly with a company to help them with a problem that they're seeing. And we're working on designing a chemical plant for them, so some various process to like separate chemicals or refine chemicals in some way. So ours is just a term long, and we work in groups of 3 and then kind of design this process and present it to a company. And then usually we'll have a big engineering expo where students get to present their work to a bunch of people from Oregon State. They come around and can see all the projects that seniors have worked on. This year, they're not doing that just because of the coronavirus happening. And generally, you do get to present your work at the end of the year, which is pretty cool.
Something I would like to add quickly is that for those that are looking to be part of the Honors College and College of Engineering, you can actually also make your honors thesis also be part of your capstone. So you kind of can do a 2-in-1. That being said, the project still has to be different enough. But if you are still very interested in research, the Honors College does offer like money if you decide to go present at a conference and things like that. And so if that is something you're interested in, I strongly recommend that.
Okay, so for the next question, a student was wondering what the heavy workload of engineering is like and how we balance it with our social life. Riley, do you want to start us off with this one?
Yeah, definitely. So engineering is definitely a time-consuming major, but going to college and taking classes is generally time-consuming. That being said, there's definitely a lot of extra time to go and do other things. I try to go rock climbing once a week. Last year I got really into pottery and I was going to the craft center a lot. And so I think it's all about setting aside dedicated time to do homework or general work that you need to do for school, but then also being able to partition free time off and going and doing other things that you really enjoy. So practicing time management skills is always really important, and even in engineering, it's very much so possible to enjoy your free time. There was one question that was, are students required to start as general engineering, or are they allowed to specify their major during their first year if they're really sure? Grace, do you want to answer this one?
Sure. So you have the option. We recommend you start as general engineering, but like Esther came in as business, I came in as mechanical engineering. You can come in and start and declare your major right away. However, we do recommend you start with general engineering solely for the reason that you get to try out and kind of experience a bunch of engineering options that we offer. There's a lot that you might not have heard of or exactly know what you might be doing in that field. And some of them are really interesting. Like if you didn't know about like industrial engineering, but you took the class and you realized this was really interesting to me, I really like the business side of this, or you took a bioengineering class, never really thought about doing bioengineering, but then you really enjoyed kind of what you learned about it in the time. And that can be really helpful. It'll help later on when you're trying to decide whether or not you want to switch majors if you came in as something and then ended up not liking it. So it will benefit you in the long run if you know what you want to do by the end of your first year and have a good idea. That doesn't mean that you're guaranteed that you're not going to switch. Things happen, things change, but it does kind of give you a better kind of head start into knowing that you're at least going to enjoy what you do later on, because the first couple of years can be a little discouraging sometimes when you're not taking a ton of major specific classes and you think that you're bored. But it just helps kind of situate you so you do have a good understanding of what you're interested in, because there's a lot of things here that you might not know exist. Even if you read a little paragraph about it on the website, going and actually talking to professors who are working in that field and so forth can be really helpful when determining what your interest is. Does anybody have anything else to add about that?
All right, so for the next question, do any of you guys want to talk about engineering specific jobs for first, second year students? I guess the main one is our one that we all are involved in is the ambassador program. But Grace, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I gave a little kind of spiel at the beginning about what we do as ambassadors, but mainly what we do is represent the student perspective for the College of Engineering. So there are about 25 of us, and we represent all of the colleges in the College of Engineering. And yeah, do you guys want to share like experiences you've had, or if you had another on-campus job? Another on-campus job I had as a second-year student was I ref'd intramural sports, and I still did that this year. There's a lot of obscure jobs on campus. You can work in like university housing and dining services, but does anybody have like a job they had on campus?
This wasn't during school, but a great internship program for chemical, biological, and environmental engineers is the Johnson Internship Program. It's specific to first-year students, which is really unique, and it gives you the opportunity to do paid research in a lab at Oregon State, University of Oregon, Portland State University, and OHSU. So you get placed into a lab in one of those places, and you do research all summer, and then present it at the end of the summer. And so I did that, and I thought it was really helpful.
Okay. I'm unmuted now. Like Riley and Sadie have mentioned before, research is really big here at Oregon State University, and that is definitely something that you can get involved with and get paid with. Just like Sadie, within my first year, I had an undergraduate research position where I would get paid, which is really nice. And you're not just, or at least in my experience, you're not just like being a numbers cruncher. You know, you really get to understand what research is, the whole process about it, and you actually get to learn more about the major that you're interested in. So my first year, my research was under the School of Electrical and Computer Engineering. And so I had a lot of fun doing it, and it was actually kind of in the realm of engineering education, which I am really passionate about. And so getting those research positions, or just any job in general, is super helpful to kind of figure out and like what you want to go into further once you graduate from Oregon State.
Awesome. And then for our next question, there was a question asking, how has being in the Honors College changed your college experience? And I know, Esther, you're an ambassador for the Honors College, so do you want to take on that one?
Yeah, I love the Honors College. I've gotten asked, you know, like, they're like, be honest, like, I need you to tell me the truth. And I'm like, the truth is I love it. I wouldn't be a senior ambassador if I didn't love it and like, you know, talk about it and market it. So I came from a small town in Oregon. The reason I joined the Honors College was for that small community feel. And everyone I've met so far has been amazing. I've been able to do all of these amazing projects and things like that. And it's all because of the community I've built. You know, the professors, the honors professors, the honors students, I've gone asked, you know, how can you do it all? And I'm like, I can't, like, it's like everyone helping me out. And it's something that you kind of realize in college, that you kind of need your group of people, of like supporters that are going to push you in your hard days. And that's something that the Honors College offered. Aside from, you know, like the kumbaya part of it, I think something really good about the Honors College is the funding opportunities you get. And so I defended my honors thesis my sophomore year, and I actually I got the Honors College to fully fund my conference travel. So I was able to go to Harvard University and present my thesis, and I did not have to pay any of it. And so that's another part of why I really like the Honors College. And another side of it is just the connections you get. So we do a lot of industry tours, just like the College of Engineering, and we even partner with the College of Engineering for some industry tours, typically like the one we have during winter term, where we go to like Seattle. That's a partnership with the College of Engineering and the Honors College.
I'll add one thing to that. I'm also in the Honors College, and one thing that I've really enjoyed are the Dean and Friends lunches. Those are really nice because they bring in different people from industry or just other professions or fields, and I'll go to them even if they don't pertain to me even a little bit, because it's just really interesting to hear someone who knows a lot about their field of research or work talk. And there's always free food, which is very nice, but they're always really interesting, and I like those a lot.
Okay, so this is just a question that's gonna, like, I can answer because I'm studying ecological and environmental engineering, but somebody asks what's the difference between them, which is a really common question. So environmental engineering is going to be working more chemically based. So it's going to be in a lab and looking to treat water, where ecological engineering is more outside and using natural systems to solve environmental issues. So some of the projects that they might work on are habitat restoration, or working in agrivoltaics, which is growing plants underneath solar panels, or in aquaponics, which is growing plants in water systems with fish. I know everybody else, does anybody else have anything to add to that? I know nobody's studying that, but just in case. Okay, cool. Riley, would you like to take the next question?
Yeah, definitely. So we have a question asking about some resources for counseling and burnout prevention. And one of the really unique things, or I don't know if it's unique to colleges, but one thing that I really like about college is that we have access to free counseling on campus. It's at CAPS, and that's our student counseling center. And I utilized CAPS my freshman year when I was really anxious about being far away from home, but they can also help you with things like burnout or things like that. And it's free to you for a certain number of sessions each term, which is really neat. So you have access to a therapist to go talk to, and they can give you good resources. Another really good resource for this is the Student Success Center. So if you're having trouble keeping up in some of your classes, or you just need someone to help you figure out how to study a little bit better, you can go there, and that's also completely free to students, and you can make an appointment and sit down with an educational coach. And they'll help you formulate a plan to get back on track or study more effectively or prevent burnout or anything like that. Does anyone else have anything to add or any resources they use?
I loved CAPS. Just kind of like Riley mentioned, is they have resources to therapy sessions. They also have like group sessions as well. There's also like a page of like, I got given like a page of exercises that I can do because not necessarily just engineering, just college in general is super stressful, and it's okay to ask for help. That's something I strongly like recommend and like want people to know about. CAPS is free to students, aka it's like included in your fees, and so you should take advantage of it.
And then one other thing to add about CAPS that's really nice is they have like wellness hours or like meditation hours that you can go to for free. And so those are just in the middle of the day, and you can go to the wellness center in the Memorial Union, and they have meditation sessions that you can just go to for free, which is really nice in the middle of like a very stressful day. Okay, that's all. Caitlin, do you have another question?
Yeah, so I have 2 questions. One is, what is your laptop of choice for the College of Engineering? Because the laptops are required. And then the second one is, if anybody has done intramurals, another student would like to hear about anybody's experience with that. Esther, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, so it's funny you ask about the computer stuff, because when I came in as a business student, all I had was a MacBook, and that does not, or MacBook Air, that was not enough for my computer. And I was literally in the same boat as you, where I didn't know what computer to get. Something I recommend is I reached out to my friends that, are in computer science or electrical engineering. They were able to help me, like, okay, like this is what you need. This is like IPU stuff you need. All I know is that the computer I currently have is a computer that was strongly recommended by a lot of my peers, and it was within budget. So that is something that I liked about it. Something I will recommend that you guys kind of look into is to make sure what budget you're looking for, what software you have. So making sure that the computer you get has enough storage for it. Those were kind of the main things that they asked me, like what I wanted out of it. As far for I am sports, so I'm part of tennis club, and I love it. Mainly, it's a good way to de-stress. It's a good way for 2 hours. I am not thinking of any testing. I am not thinking of anything else. I'm just playing something with friends. And I strongly recommend ION sports or club sports, especially if you played it in high school and still kind of want to be part of it, kind of still want to be a de-stressor. I really like it. So yeah. And I'll pass it back to Grace because it is almost 7:30.
Yeah, so thank you everybody for all your questions. If you didn't get your question asked and you are really curious and really want it asked, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 3 to 5, we are currently having, they're kind of like office hours. It's like a Zoom chat, and you can pop into those and you can ask us similar questions. There'll be 3 or 4 of us there to answer those. But thank you for coming so much. If you're interested in learning more about maybe experiential learning and some other opportunities we have regarding that, like clubs, research, etc. Next week, we have another webinar coming up. It's going to be pretty similar to this one, just covering a different topic. So feel free to sign up for that. We'd love to see you guys again. But thank you so much for coming. Again, the email for if you have more questions, you can either email askengineering@oregonstate.edu or coe.ambassadors@oregonstate.edu. And either of those emails will help you get some of those questions answered. So thanks again. Have a great night, everybody.